Welcome to another video. Before we get into the Q&A, let's do a devotional for those who might be grieving. This devotional was inspired by Proverbs 3:5. The verse says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not rely on your own understanding." It's easy to love God when He answers a prayer the way we want Him to, especially when He answers above and beyond what we imagined. But He doesn't always answer the way we hope. Sometimes He says yes, but with conditions we hadn't thought of or expected. Sometimes He says yes, but not yet. We must wait for its fulfillment to come. Then there are times when the answer is no, and that answer is hard to bear, especially when He's supposed to be a good and loving God. How do you equate His love with a no, especially when you hurt through and through? The same way a child trusts in his or her parents, a child can't possibly comprehend all the facets of life or understand the bigger picture, so there is no other option than to trust. When God says no, it's an opportunity to accept that He knows better than we do, even when it doesn't make sense. Those are times to release the grasp of our own understanding and rely on our trust in Him. Let's do this prayer quickly. Lord, I simply don't understand why You won't change my circumstances when I know that You can. What I ask of You is perfectly reasonable and makes sense to me, so I don't understand why my prayers are met with a no. Help me to accept that You know better than I do and that every answer to my prayers is for my own good and for Your glory. I love You and trust You to be with me for another day as I walk in Your grace. In Jesus' name, amen. First question we have here is, do you have a girlfriend asking for other single girls out there? Now, this was probably up there with the most asked question, and I'm going to answer it once, and then I'm going to leave this topic alone. Yes, I have a girlfriend. I'm happily in a relationship. And the reason I don't share that is because I simply want to just keep my relationship private. For a lot of my previous relationship, a lot of that was online. And when I say a lot of it was online, I just like to document a lot of what was going on at the time. And it's out there for people to see. It's out there for people to have an opinion about. It's out there for people to criticize, I guess. It's out there for people to comment on. And when I got out of that relationship, I decided that moving forward, I would keep future relationships private. I don't really want to share much about it. I don't really want to talk about it much in public. I don't want to post about it on Instagram. And it's not because I want to hide my relationship. Well, I guess you could argue that it is hiding my relationship, but it's more so because I don't want people to be publicly telling me their opinion of my relationship. I think some things should be kept private, and I know that my girlfriend would be reading comments, even though I advise her not to read comments. I know that if I posted something that included her in the content, she's going to read it. She's going to read the comments. And people can be pretty mean on the internet. And I want to protect her from that. Now, can I protect her fully? No, of course not. I can't protect her fully, and I can't stop people from having an opinion about her. But I think by not posting about it online, I'm at least doing my part in, protecting the relationship as much as possible. And also, and I hate to say this, but Filipinos specifically, I'm going to talk about Filipinos because I'm Filipino, and I don't know, I just feel like I can talk about my people, I guess. But Filipinos love relationships. They love public relationships so much to the point that they have entire shows based on a public relationship. And then when they break up, or even if they don't break up, whatever, they're just closely followed by the media. And I know this happens in other races and nationalities, but for Filipinos specifically, because I see it on TV all the time, and I hear other people talk about it. I hear my aunties talk about it. I hear uncles talk about it. Oh, do you see this so and so are together, or did you see that so and so are no longer together? Did you see so-and-so at McDonald's ordering this and that? And then they give me their opinion. But like, I don't know. I just don't want that. I don't want that. So that's why I choose to keep it private. But thank you guys for asking. I appreciate it. What are the things or words that grandma said that you miss the most? I mean, pretty much everything that grandma used to say I miss. Even though she repeated a lot of the same things every single day, she would tell me the same 5 to 7 stories every single day. I miss all of it. And I knew that I would miss all of it. Even times when I would get frustrated because I'd be hearing the same thing every single day, I would always tell myself, I'm going to miss this one day. In the midst of the frustration, I knew that one day grandma's going to be gone and I'm going to miss everything she's saying. And here I am without grandma, missing everything that she used to say to me. I mean, you guys, whatever she would say in the videos that you guys have watched, she would say those things all the time. And I miss all of it. Next question. Would you apply for any medical schools to continue taking care of others? I've thought about it, and I don't think so. I've also got a few questions asking if I'm going to pursue anything in the medical field. Probably not. I have so much respect for caregivers who are caring for people outside of their relatives. Like, I met so many caregivers that go to different houses every day and care for people that they're not related to. And I have so much respect for those people because it takes another level. Like, caring for my grandmother was already difficult enough, but because she was my grandmother and because I loved her, it made it a little bit easier. So I can't even imagine, going to a client's house, caring for them, and then doing it again at a different house, and then a different house, and then a different house. Like, that sounds physically and mentally draining, and I have the utmost respect for caregivers that do that. So to answer the question, I don't see myself pursuing anything in the medical field or continuing my caregiving journey for another person. I'm open to it for doing it for my parents or for my other grandmother, or maybe some cousins or something, but outside of relatives, I can't see myself doing it. What do you constantly battle with on a day-to-day basis, and how do you deal with it? It's a great question. I mean, one, the passing of my grandmother is the biggest thing that I can think of. That's something that I think I'll be dealing with for the rest of my life. Another one is, unfortunately, it's negative criticism of me online. I think that's something that I battle with, and less about what people are saying and more about why I let it affect me in the way that it does. I've been posting content online since 2014. I've been reading negative comments about me since the beginning, and to this day, it still hurts to see somebody say something mean about me on the internet. People say you got to have thick skin to post stuff online. I'm looking for the thick skin because it's hard out here to have thick skin. It's hard to read people's opinions about you, negative opinions about you, and just brush it off, especially when they're poking at insecurities of yours. It feels almost impossible to deal with. I mean, just yesterday, before we were recording the pod, one of my cousins unwillingly tells me, like, I didn't know what he was about to say, but he was like, yo, did you hear that comment about, and then he went on about what this person said, and it was basically about me, like, the person was like, why don't you let your grandma rest in peace? Why do you have to continue to make content about her? And it's more frustrating to be affected by it than the actual comment. Does that make sense? Like, I'm more affected by how I feel about it than what the content of the comment is. Like, why am I letting negative opinions of me on the internet when I know that these people don't know me, my motives, my intentions? I've never shaken their hand before. They don't know me and I don't know them, but I'm letting them ruin my day. That's what affects me more than what the actual comment says. Maybe not on a day-to-day basis, but it's up there. And it's unfortunate because there's so many people that are saying kind things about me. And yet I focus on the one, not even 1%, it's probably less than 1% of the people that have something bad to say. It's so unfortunate. But I think that's just the human nature. That's just in our nature to just be focused on whatever the opposition is, whatever is in front of us that could potentially harm us. We're more focused on that than what's over here looking good, unfortunately. And maybe fortunately, maybe we're designed that way because we got to protect ourselves. How are you doing? How do you fill the gap of the day that used to be grandma? That's a great question. My days are a little bit less structured than they used to be. I was very rigid with my schedule before. Like 7 to 9, I'm doing this. 9 to 10, I'm doing this. 10 to 11, I'm doing this. You know, the whole day, my schedule was built around taking care of grandma. And now that grandma's no longer here, I'm moving and I'm operating with a little bit of a less rigid schedule, and I'm trying to get back to a rigid schedule because I find that's what makes me the happiest. When I make a plan and I execute, that's what makes me the happiest. So I've been working on just getting back to a schedule or making a schedule because it's completely different now. Like I have really no other obligations. I don't have, like, outside of grandma, I guess my only obligation outside of that was to make sure that I stay healthy. So I'm still maintaining my health. I'm still running. I'm still working out. I'm still watching what I eat. I'm still doing everything I need to do for my mental. And I'm just trying to figure it out. What's your next endeavor and how can we support you going forward? That's very kind of you to want to continue to support me moving forward. I think my next endeavor is to get into the health and wellness space. If you've seen the last video that I posted, I was telling the story about how I went to California to take these FRS courses so that I could be certified and learn how to strengthen joints and delay arthritis and have an independent life until the end and not need anybody to take care of me. And that's what I feel like I'm being called to. I feel like I'm being called to help others and myself to strengthen my joints, strengthen my body, and be as mobile as I can be until the end of my life. You know, something that I learned being a sign language tutor, an ASL tutor in college, was that because I'm helping other people, I also have to make sure that I'm sharp. I have to make sure that I'm practicing also. I have to make sure that I'm up to date with all the knowledge. I have to make sure that my knowledge in this space continues to grow because I have other people coming to me for help. So I got to be on point for the sake of the people. So it forces me to sharpen my skills. So if when I hop into the space of helping people be mobile, it's going to force me to stay mobile myself because I got to be practicing what I preach. Otherwise, what kind of teacher would I be? How can I teach with authority if I'm not doing the things that I'm telling people to do? So it's a cycle. It's a never-ending cycle of making sure I'm good so that I could be good for others. So that's what I feel called to do. Being raised by grandparents is the best. How was your childhood with grandma? From what I can remember, my childhood was great. I didn't have a sibling until I was about 8 years old. So I was an only child for about 8 years. And I lived with both of my grandmas. And from what I can remember, it was a great childhood. Grandma was always concerned about my safety. That was her number one concern. She was always concerned about what I was doing and if what I was doing was going to harm me physically. So she would always, if I was running on the couch, she would yell at me to get off the couch because she didn't want me to fall. If I was running near the dining table, which was glass and there's sharp edges, she would yell at me for running because she didn't want me to slip and hit my eye on the sharp part of the glass. So she was always concerned about my safety. And at the time, I just want to play. I just want to run around. I'm not really concerned if I'm going to bump my head on the wall. So that's what I remember about my childhood. And I had a great childhood. I have no complaints about my childhood, and I feel so grateful to have such a great childhood, because I hear stories of people I hear stories of other people's childhood, and it's like it makes me realize how blessed I was during my childhood. Like, sometimes people hit me up and they're like, "Yo, I didn't even get a chance to meet my grandmas or grandpas. I had nobody at the house. I had to raise myself as a child," and that's it's tough. That sounds tough. So I'm happy that I'm happy with the way that I was raised. I think my parents and my grandparents did the best that they could to make sure I had the best childhood. Next question is, how has being a practicing Christian impacted your life? Where do I begin with this question? I mean, positively. I guess that's the best way I could describe it. Positively. So, I grew up going to a Catholic church. I grew up going to church because Sundays, you got to go to church. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. My parents you got to go to church every Sunday. So I've been going to church my entire life. And for a lot of that time, I never really understood, I never took the time to read the Word. I never took the time to study the Bible, to be in the Word, to be in the living Word of God. I never took the time to read it. Never took the time to understand and know who Jesus was. Never tried to build a relationship with him. I was just going to church because my parents told me to. I believed in God, but outside of going to church, never spent time. I would pray before I'd go to sleep, but sometimes I would just recite prayers that I was taught as a kid. Wouldn't really think about what it was that I was saying. And, when there would be hard times, quote unquote, I would pray and ask for better times, and that was my relationship with God. I would pray when I needed something. I would go to church on Sunday, but outside of those 2 times, I'm not really talking to God. I'm not really learning about Jesus. I'm not reading the Word. And then about 7 months ago, I heard a podcast with Omar El Takori, and the homie Gene the Barber and D Witters. They were talking about their faith journey, their testimonies, talking about the Word. And I was so inspired I was inspired by their relationship with God. And I was like, I want that. I longed for that. I don't know. There was when I heard them talking about their relationship with God, I was like, that sounds beautiful. That sounds peaceful. I want that. So I bought a Bible, and I started reading. I downloaded the Bible app. They have a bunch of plans on there, and I just started reading, and it changed my life. Even though I thought, maybe looking back, I thought I believed in God, and I did, but I didn't have a relationship with him. I felt like it was a one-way street. I'll talk to you when I need something, and that's it. And that was my relationship. And now, the more that I read the Word and the more that I understand these guidelines that God has laid out for us, it's not because, and to me, I don't believe it's because he's telling us to live in this way because he's God and he says so, which that is true. But it's because he's giving us these guidelines because he wants us to live the most fruitful life possible, the way that he designed it. He wants us to live the way that he designed it. And if you live the way that he designed it, it's going to give you the most peaceful and fruitful. Not saying that it's not going to be hard. The path is narrow, as they say, but it's to live the most peaceful and fruitful life because that's how he designed it. And the more that I get to know who he is, the more peace I see in my life. I think about the last moments with my grandmother and how I was talking to God. I was praying. I was reading. I sought after him in that moment. And I felt so comforted. This was probably the hardest time of my life, seeing my grandmother on her deathbed, struggling. And through that, I found comfort in him. I found comfort in that, in one of the hardest times of my life. I'm thankful, and it's a never-ending journey. You got to keep going. It's something that you have to practice. It's just like working out. You could have a great workout today, maybe build some muscles, maybe, but you got to do it again the next day and the next day and the next day. It's not just a one-time thing. So I hope that answers your question. How has being a practicing Christian impacted your life? It has changed my life. It has changed my life. Next question. Hi, Chris. Do you plan on visiting the Philippines in the future? If so, what do you want to do there? So my family and I are going to the Philippines this May. We're going to be there for about a month, and I'm super excited. I'm also really nervous because I haven't been to the Philippines in over 10 years. Last time we went was 2012. So, I don't really know what to expect. I feel like I'm still going to be culture shocked. I'm really insecure about the way that I speak Kapampangan and the fact that I don't really speak Tagalog. So I've been learning Tagalog and trying to watch like kids shows, like trying to immerse myself in the language because it's something that I'm like insecure about. Like I'm a Filipino that doesn't speak Tagalog. I can understand it maybe like 50 or 60%, maybe even less than that. That's pretty generous. 60% is pretty generous. Maybe 30%. But I don't speak it, and I remember when I went in 2012 and people were speaking to me in Tagalog and I'd have to answer in English, I just felt ashamed of myself. And I'm sure a lot of Filipino Americans can relate to that. So, I got to step my language up. I got to be prepared when I go out there. So I guess if you see me in the Philippines in May, say hi or not. It's up to you. In your selfish love and caring for your grandmother, how has your love for others grown? That's a great question. Never really thought about if my love for others has grown. Through my faith journey and through me trying to get closer to God and reading the Bible, I think that is what has made my love for others grown. I think that's more so what it is than like caring for my grandmother. And it made me love my grandmother even more through getting closer to God and reading the Word. That's what made me closer to grandma and other people. I just, I don't know. I just feel such a strong connection to people now. Not that I haven't, not that I didn't before, but I just feel a much stronger connection to people. I feel a much stronger need to love others and serve others, and yeah. So it wasn't through taking care of grandma. It was through getting closer to God. That's what has made me love others more. Next question. Do you feel a sense of relief now that grandma is gone? Like she's in a more comfortable place? 100%. I mentioned this again in the last video that I feel so much relief for my grandmother. She is in no more pain. I also feel a lot of relief for my family, for my parents especially, for my mom. I just think about my mom and how much of a weight she carried from my grandmother. Even before I was in the picture, she's been there for my grandmother for so long. To see her taking care of herself, not that she wasn't taking care of herself before, but she's really looking out for herself now because her mother isn't top of mind. Grandma was top of mind for me and for my mom for so long. Like, I'm talking like I'll wake up at 3 a.m. First thing I think of is grandma and if she's okay. Is she still breathing? Did she fall? Did she choke on one of her snacks? Like these are things that I'm thinking about constantly, not just at 3 a.m., but it's when I wake up at 6:30 to go downstairs to see if she's okay. My anxiety is through the roof, like coming down the stairs, walking to grandma's room, hearing the TV, hearing TFC on the TV, and I'm like, man, is this it? Is she still breathing? Am I gonna walk into this room and like see grandma not breathing anymore. Oh, thank goodness she's good. She's sleeping. Again, at like every hour of the day, I'm just thinking about grandma, and I'm sure it was even more for my mom. I'm sure she's at work, sending off an email, and then instantly she thinks of grandma and is she okay? And she'll text me, is grandma okay? Has she eaten? Like, all these things. So to not, and I know grandma hated being taken care of. Grandma hated it so much. She was grateful that people were helping her, but she hated that she needed that much help. She was an independent woman, and that was stripped from her because of her mobility. And, to have to rely on other people, she did not enjoy it. So I know she is feeling much relief now. Me and my family are feeling much relief now. And of course we miss grandma, but to wish that she was still here in the state that she was in, that feels a little selfish. I wish grandma was here and was mobile so that she could roam around. And even me wishing that, I just know she's doing so much better than we are right now. 100%. She probably doesn't want to come back. She's with her husband, her siblings, family members that she hasn't seen in a minute. She's doing great. So when she hears me like, yo, I want grandma back, she's like, no, I don't want. I'll see you when I see you. I'll see you in a little bit. Don't bring me back there. I'll see you in a little bit. That's what grandma's saying. Another question. Bro, do you like to take care of your grandma all the time? What a question. That sounds so aggressive. Do I like to take care of my grandmother all the time? The answer to that is I want to say no, because I want to make sure that you guys understand that there were times of frustration. There were times of resentment. There were times that my grandma and I did not get along. But for the most part, I loved being with my grandmother and helping her out. It gave me so much. It gave me a sense of purpose in this life. It gave me a sense of I was doing the right thing. And I feel the need to make sure that this gets said, because I know that there's a lot of caregivers that watch my videos and they struggle with frustration and anger and resentment. And if I don't mention it and they think that everything was perfect the whole time, they're going to think something's wrong with them. They're going to feel guilty for feeling all those negative emotions all the negative emotions that come with caregiving. I feel like they're going to think that everything was perfect for me and that I was 100% happy all the time and that everything was great. That's not the case. For the most part, everything was good, but there were a lot of times that were hard. Everything shower days on Fridays, especially towards the end, because grandma would just complain the whole time. And my mom and I had to clip her nails, and oh my goodness, just thinking about it now, it's so. Those were some tough times, and I know my caregivers feel me. And if you're a caregiver or you're a future caregiver, I just want you to know, yes, there's so many upsides to helping out a loved one, so many, but they don't come with those highs come with some lows, but it all works out in the end. I hope that answers the question. Next question is a 2-for-1. The first question is, do you find yourself a little lost without grandma physically near you? And the other question is, do you feel like you've lost your sense of purpose since grandma passed away? Do I feel lost? A little bit. Schedule-wise, it's difficult for me to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. Thank the Lord that I am in a place where I don't need to rush to get a job. Because doing this is my quote unquote job. Making these videos is my job, which is crazy to say. This is the life that I wanted when I first started posting videos online in 2014. I wanted to be a YouTuber. That's so cringe, but I wanted to be a YouTuber. I wanted to make videos and get paid for it. And thankfully, I'm covered. So I don't feel the need to go and rush and get a job. Um, Thankfully, I've been able to help my parents financially during this time. Um, so where was I going with that? I don't know. Do I feel a little bit lost? Yeah, a little bit, because my whole world has changed. So I'm just taking it a day at a time, trying to figure out what I'm doing. And do you feel like you've lost your sense of purpose since Grandma passed away? A little bit. Like I mentioned earlier, like taking care of Grandma gave me a sense of purpose. And now that sense of purpose is gone, I got to find a new one. Next question. Did you finally decide what you will do with the Chooseday page? Yeah, we're going to do a farewell release. We're going to do one more release. And then once those items are gone, we're going to close the site and turn it into something. We're going to turn it into something. That's all I'm going to say for now. So yeah, we're going to have one more release, and I feel like this is going to relate to the question that I answered at the beginning. I feel the need to validate why we're doing it, because I'm thinking of all the negative emails that we get and all the negative comments, which is, again, less than 1% of everybody commenting and having an opinion about me running the site. I want to give people some memorabilia of Grandma. Do I need to do it in this way? Absolutely not. But we've gotten many requests, hundreds of requests of people saying, please continue to sell pins. We want to have something to remember Grandma by. And two, as I've stated in a previous video, I have vowed to be a good steward of the money that comes in, to be responsible with it, to save it as Grandma asked me to, and to help those who are in need. Those are two of Grandma's money requests. Number one, save your money. And number two, help those who are in need. So that's what I do with, because people love to ask me. And you know what's crazy? Yes, it's nobody's business what I do with the money, but I feel the need to tell people, like I feel the need to be transparent about what I do with the funds. So I'm going to fulfill Grandma's request. I'm going to save some of the money, and I'm going to help those in need. And that, to me, doesn't feel wrong. Next question is, what Bible scripture has helped you the most with coping with your grief? I got it pulled up right here. John 14, verses 1 through 4. Don't let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God and trust also in me. There is more than enough room in my Father's home. If this were not so, would I have told you that I'm going to prepare a place for you? When everything is ready, I will come and get you, so that you'll always be with me where I am, and you know the way to where I'm going. I found this verse, as I was doing my daily Bible reading. And I found this before Grandma passed away, and I remember reading it and feeling so much comfort after reading it. I felt so loved while reading it, and I highlighted it. I wrote it down. I wrote it in my phone. I took pictures of it. I did everything I could to try and remember this verse. I remember reading this and like being on the verge of crying because of how much comfort I felt and how much love I felt. It was a verse that I ran to when I first found out that my grandmother passed away, and I just would read it over and over and over. And we all have a place in God's home. And when it's your time, you will be called, and you'll have a place. And that makes me feel so loved. Next question. Is Grandma's room still kept as it is? I miss Grandma already. I hope she can now see all of her online apus. Apu in Kapampangan is grandchild. We cleaned it out the other day. We donated all of her leftover things. We donated the bed. We donated all of the incontinence products, all the leftover diapers and stuff, all the creams, everything. Like, we got rid of all of her stuff and gave it to people that need it. And we're going to turn the room into an office, but I plan to have a part of the room like as a in remembrance of Grandma corner or something like that. So I think I'm going to take the time to take all of the letters that people have sent her, put them on poster card, or what are the posters? I'm blanking. Put all the letters on posters and post those on the wall. Put all of her memorabilia on the wall. So I plan to have it as an office and also have it a part of it where it just has all of Grandma's things. So Yeah, that's what we're doing with Grandma's room. Hi, Chris. Can you share some of the advice and reminders Grandma told you? Number one, be grateful. It's not even something she told me to do. It's something that she taught. It's something that she lived. She didn't teach that. She just lived it. She was grateful for everything. Anything you can think of, she was grateful. Give her a sip of water, she's grateful. Help her into her bed, she's grateful. Kiss her goodnight, she's grateful that we're together. She would pass gas, she would be grateful that she was able to pass gas because she knows that there are people in the world that are unable to pass gas and they might have stomach issues, and she's grateful that she's able to pass it so that she doesn't have stomach issues. Anything you could think of, Grandma was grateful for it. And she never told me to be grateful. She just taught me how to do that by living it. Even when Grandma wouldn't remember her children's names anymore, even when Grandma wouldn't remember where she is, even when she thought she was back in 1964, she never forgot to be grateful. And that's something that I'll always remember, and I'll keep that, and I'll do my best to live that every single day, because that's what makes you rich. That's what makes you wealthy. Your gratitude. It's not riches, it's not material things, it's nothing but gratitude. Gratitude is what makes you truly wealthy, and Grandma was wealthy. What's the most fulfilling moment you had with Grandma? When I showed her my tattoo and she said that she would love me no matter what. And I don't even think she understood that it was a tattoo. I've shown her multiple times. I'm convinced that she thought it was just a long sleeve that I was wearing. But in the video where I filmed with me showing her my tattoo for the first time, she was like, "Whatever you do, I know that it's fine, and I love you regardless." And yeah. That's just hearing that somebody will unconditionally love you is, it's a beautiful thing. I'm preparing to be a caregiver to my mother-in-law. I'm scared. I love her, but I need resources. I was signed up for a caregiver program that I think was funded by the government. I signed up so that I could be compensated for compensated. I say compensated with quotes because it was a criminal pay. But I was compensated. They gave me a set amount of hours that I could be compensated for. And I think there's a program in every state available to you. So if you're about to be a caregiver and you need a little bit of help financially, because it is expensive, like especially if the person that you're caring for doesn't have insurance. Thankfully, my grandmother had insurance. So all of her incontinence products and everything that she needed was covered through her insurance. If the person you're caring for does not have insurance, that stuff can get really pricey really quick. So I would say just Google like caregiving programs in whatever area you're in and try to get compensated, a little bit for your time. I don't think it's wrong to be compensated for your time. We don't live, unfortunately, we can't pay bills with air. You got to pay bills and buy products with money that you need, and money that you can get from a program that might be available in your area. Advice to those who are still grieving after a loved one passed. I miss my mom and Lola big time. First of all, my condolences to you. Grieving is tough, and I'm not a professional griever. I'm still dealing with it myself, taking it a day at a time, a step at a time, one foot in front of the other. Sometimes it gets easy, and sometimes it gets hard. But I think trying your best to take care of your mental, whether that means praying, meditating, trying to get closer to God, finding community, whether it's within your local church or maybe your local gym or wherever. Find community that can be there for you during this difficult time, and stay active. My form of physical activity right now is running. I love running. I just did my first half marathon last month. Loved it. I trained for that for 5 months. That kept me physically fit. It kept my mind sharp. And I'm still training. I'm about to do a half marathon in May, and hopefully a full marathon in November if I get selected for the New York Marathon. And I don't know how I would function without physical activity. So I'd say get some physical activity in. Go outside. Go for a run. If you're new to running or you don't know where to start, download this app. Run with Hal. HAL. Run with Hal. Download it, and it's free. And get on a program and start running. Running is simple. You just need shoes and some shorts and a t-shirt, but all you need are shoes. So if you're not currently getting in your daily exercise or your weekly exercise or your monthly exercise, I highly recommend doing that because I think it does wonders for your body. I'm not about to get into what physical activity does for you psychologically, but we all know that physical activity is important. So if you're not getting that in, I'd highly recommend getting that in. I think it helps. It's been helping me with grieving, and take it a day at a time, man. It's so cliche, but time really does heal all. Time really does heal all. And I'll be praying for you. Here we go. Do you keep something that grandma personally owned that reminds you of her? I mean, I have her red beanie with a smiley face on it that I keep. But I see grandma in everything. And you know what's crazy? People used to DM me all the time saying that my grandmother reminded them of their grandmother. And I didn't fully understand that until grandma passed away. Because now every time I see an older lady, I think about grandma. Anytime I see white hair on somebody, I think about grandma. And she's always in my heart. She's always in my thoughts. If you guys enjoy videos like this, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to do more. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Love you. See ya.